Hello, I want to welcome everybody back to the Reps and Reflections podcast, where we build stronger minds, stronger bodies, and even stronger connections. We've got a treat for you today. We've got an interview. We've got a guest today. This young man is a case manager. He is a life coach, and he has a bachelor's in psychology. We're going to dive a little bit deep into his life and have an interview and conversation today. Stay tuned.
And reflection, raps, and reflection, raps, and reflection, raps, and reflection.
I want to welcome James Ortiz to the podcast.
Thank you.
So, before we start talking about the business aspect and all those things, I, I really want you to tell the viewers a little bit about yourself. Who was young James?
I was all over the place, young James. Born and raised here in Austin. I went to 3, 4 different elementary schools, a couple of different middle schools, and several different high schools. So I've really gotten around Austin, very experienced all the
You're a nomad.
niches and aspects. Yeah. So I totally blanking is what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. I grew up here in Austin, and I eventually moved to San Antonio for school.
Okay.
And now that I've graduated, I've come back home.
Okay. And so you went to school in San Antonio. So we talked a little bit about your bachelor's in psychology. So I'm assuming you got that in San Antonio.
I did. I get to get that in San Antonio. Yeah, I was really drawn to psychology. I experienced a lot of mental health issues when I was younger, and I think that I really wanted to kind of explore why and find some answers, some self-discovery there. But I also wanted to help people that struggle like me as well.
Yeah.
So I got really interested in psychology and decided that that's what I wanted to pursue long term.
Okay, and I think that kind of leads into the next question that I have, and it's, can you share your personal journey into this field? And obviously, you spoke a little bit about, your own mental health struggles, um, and so what's your personal journey getting into this field really look like, right? From college to who sits in front of us today.
Well, I think it was even before college. I think that the first time I really started getting some of the help that I needed was in ninth grade, so it's early high school.
Yeah.
I met a psychologist that I still have a working relationship with.
Yeah.
And I think that that's where I decided, okay, this is what I want to do. And so from that point on, everything that I had worked towards was for this end goal.
Yeah.
When I was in college, I was also working at a residential treatment program as a nonprofit, like a group home for children that usually got taken away by CPS and had some mental instability themselves, behavioral issues like that. So I really got to start working with children with even more severe problems than I had.
Yeah.
I think working with them again just kind of bolstered that desire to continue in the field that I was pursuing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very similar in that way. I think sometimes, you know, people kind of assume that they're the only ones going through certain things, or they have it so bad, until you meet someone that's got a little bit hard, a little bit harder than you, a little bit more challenging than you.
Right.
And I think it helps put things into perspective, you know what I mean? But it also motivates and gives you that desire to reach out and help others. You know what I mean? Just because it's like, well, maybe I am in a position to help other people. Maybe I am in a position that if I can get my life on track, I can coach
Well, I think that's
other
what was
people
so
into that.
encouraging working with them. It was like, okay, cool. I really can make a difference,
Yeah.
So
Yes, you can, sir. Yes, you can. So speaking about that, what has there been any struggles or challenges since you started your business?
since I started the business,
Yeah.
um, I mean, I'm going through personal life changes, I guess,
Okay.
right now. Um, man, I don't. That question.
Man, we are gonna rip the band-aid off. Okay, it is hard and very challenging to get the word out, to get connected with people. I mean, you know what I mean? Like to get a client base, like the reality of a private practice, right?
Right. Okay.
The base of it is clients.
Hundred
You know what I
percent.
mean? And I know that that's something that we all struggle with at some point or another,
Sure. Yes.
right?
No. I'm definitely getting clientele has been a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
I think that I wasn't really picturing it as a challenge because for
Yeah.
me that work is always ongoing no matter
Absolutely.
what. Um, so yeah, very very much trying to build clientele, build business,
Yeah.
figuring out what the practice looks like.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
there's been some tweaks and changes
A lot.
yes since starting ship shape coaching. So
Yeah. Ship shape coaching. And so why that name? How did you come up with that name?
oh yeah, man, I am so into sailing and like 1800s sailing vessels. I read Treasure Island as a kid.
Oh
I
yeah.
was convinced I was going to get a peg leg.
It's
Didn't end,
not too late.
I hope it doesn't happen now. I think after some more life experience, I
There you
decided
go.
that may not be the route for me. But I was just absolutely fascinated with it. So
Yeah.
I one of my favorite movies is Master and Commander, and I'm reading the 20 books that the movie was based off of. So just super into nautical fiction.
Right.
Um, and one of the characters, his whole thing is making sure that a ship is functioning as it should, as efficiently as possible. A
Yeah.
happy ship is what he
Okay.
calls it. So
You getting it in ship shape.
it's getting into ship shape. That's right.
Get it in the ship shape. I love it, man. I love it. Um, I feel like we'd be doing a disservice if we went any further in this conversation without letting the audience in on how we met.
Right. Okay. So I see. I had just transitioned out of case management,
Hmm.
and I was working as an apprentice electrician. And I think I was just not satisfied. Nothing wrong with the work.
Yeah.
I just think it wasn't what I was meant to be doing.
Hmm.
And I get a call from my dad, and he's like, "Hey, I just met this guy." And I was like, "All right, cool, I guess."
Good
And
for you.
yeah, and he's like, "Hey, I really think y'all should connect." And he does coaching, and I think it's right up your alley. And to be honest, at that time, I really didn't know what coaching was.
Yeah.
Um, and so it took a little bit for me to
Start
actually,
googling.
yeah, took a little bit for me to actually reach out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. It did.
I think, yeah, I mean, just in that first conversation, I was like, okay, this is something I
Yeah.
want to explore
Yeah.
100%, and it just went from there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Like you said, it took a while, and so from my perspective, I was seeing clients one day virtually from home, and my neighbor Tammy calls,
yeah,
and she's like, "Hey, I noticed that, I know you guys put those screens on your back patio, and we're trying to put them up, but we don't know where we, how to where did you mount them,
right,
And so I went over." And I didn't know anybody else was there. And then I walk around the corner, I see this big guy, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, oh, okay. Well, hey, how you doing? And we Tammy introduces us and all those things. And honestly, it wasn't until I was leaving where I mentioned, yeah, I've got a couple of clients coming up in the next 30 minutes or so. And then your dad said, well, what do you do? And I explained to him what I did. And that's when he brought up his beloved son,
yeah,
and gave him my number. And ironically so, that same neighbor Tammy is actually here today in on set helping us monitor cameras. So say hello, Tammy.
and I've known Tammy for a very long time.
Yeah,
So her and my dad have been friends. Gosh, as long as I
you
can
can
remember.
remember.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and her daughter was a few years older than me, so I thought she was just the coolest thing.
she is.
Yeah, showed me all the cool
Jennifer is
video
pretty
games.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've known Aunt Tammy is what I
Yep.
grew up calling her, Aunt
Yep.
Tammy, for a very very long time. So
Yeah.
whenever I do get to come visit you, I'll make sure to knock on her door and bother her a little
Absolutely.
bit.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah, no, she's one of the best neighbors I've ever had. You know, transitioning into back to the conversation, what gap in the market or unmet need did you see when you began? Like what new thing did you think that you could bring?
Right. So I think, like I was saying before, I started pursuing psychology with the intention of being a therapist,
Yeah.
and I think that there is such a big need for therapy in general.
Yeah.
But I think part of the issue is that maybe due to a stigma
Mhm.
or you know a struggle admitting to yourself that there may be some room for growth.
Right.
I think a lot of people aren't reaching out to that available avenue.
Correct.
And I think that coaching kind of is is a really good connection
Mhm.
because while there's therapeutic aspects to
Of
it,
course.
that's not what coaching is.
Right.
And I think, with my case management background, I'm
Mhm.
able to apply a lot of that into my personal practice.
Yeah.
Um, I think coaching does a really good job of making it to where somebody feels that you're really in their corner.
Of course. Yeah.
As a coach, I can go to somebody's game or their
Yeah.
performance,
Yeah.
just really be with them during times where they need that support. Something that that avenue doesn't exist in the therapy
Right.
world.
Right.
So I think coaching really bridges a gap between therapy and support.
Well said. Well said. Because I mean, I feel the same way, and what I've learned is that, especially
Hmm.
teenagers and young adults, they love the word coach.
Right.
They love it. I don't want to see no therapist, but
Mm-mm.
I'll see a coach. I don't want to go back and tell my friend, right, because it's the stigma that you talked
Right.
about, right? It's a lot of them, and this is for any parents that are out there that are struggling communicating with their teens. This guy, this guy here, he really loves working with teenagers. I work with teenagers, which kind of leads me into your services.
Right.
So can you explain to the audience what services that you offer?
So, first and foremost, I always do individual coaching sessions.
Hmm.
I also do group coaching sessions.
Yeah.
And then one of the things that I'm really excited about, I tailored it for young adults, teens, but really it's for anybody. It is
Yeah.
it is something called
Yeah.
growth through role play,
Okay.
and it is a D&D esque style role
What
playing
is
game.
D&D?
D&D Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sure a lot of you have seen Stranger
I
Things.
was I was just about to say, okay, they've got some demogorgons.
Yeah, a buddy of mine turned me on to it, and I really enjoyed myself playing it.
Yeah.
And when I was working in a group set, it was actually in a group session that somebody brought up like, "Oh, this might be beneficial," and I was like, "Oh, all right, yeah, all right." I didn't charge him for that session because he gave me such a good idea.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
kidding.
You paid it forward a little
Yeah.
bit.
And so I really started looking into it and figuring out how I was going to do it, and
Hmm.
it's been a really rewarding, a challenging experience. Um, so the way that I operate with that is I use the dialogue and the conversation from group coaching,
Yeah.
and then I use that feedback and I turn it into struggles within the game
Yeah.
for growth through role play.
That's awesome.
That way, a client is working through whatever difficulties they're having in a fun, engaging way. They're not even realizing they're doing the work.
Eh, that that well, and that's and for me, like, I think mine, I mean, obviously we started that group, what I mean, together, and initially it was me, and then we're going to do it together. But I think after the third session, like, I could tell that there was some anxiety the first
Oh, I
session.
was shaking in my
You
boots.
just I mean, and I could just
The
tell,
camera was
right?
here up, but like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, you were sending me text messages. Is it okay if
yeah,
Yes, get in, like, dive in there, dude, like that, like
I
this.
needed
That's
some coaching.
hey, but it was very short term, man. It was like after that third session, after the third group, I remember coming to you. I was like, hey, do you just want this group?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And and you've hit the ground running, and that was initially the men's group, and then you parlayed that into the D&D, well, the D&D group that's called
Growth Through Role Play.
Growth Through Role Play.
And that men's group is still going. However, this year I've kind of changed things up.
Okay.
And I'm doing a 6-part series right now.
Okay.
It's called 2026 Who's Got Your Six?
Oh.
And so we kind of go through a couple of different core values.
Yeah.
Designed for being the man that you can stand behind.
Right.
And that is, I've been really working on that for some time, and I had my first part in the series last Monday. Good. And I have next one. No, it was awesome. It was great. Really enjoyed the dialogue that we got from that. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the next 5 parts in that series go.
Good for you. Good for you. And if someone was interested in contacting you or signing up for that group, or either one of your groups.
Right. So that group is powered through MHC Austin.
Okay.
So you can find it through mhcaustin.com.
Okay.
Under my little profile is there. And you can also reach me through shipshapecoach.com.
Okay.
And you know what? I actually came prepared this time.
You know what?
Take a look. Take a look.
Ship Shape Coach. Look at this, ladies and gentlemen.
So shipshapecoach.com, and then the phone number I haven't memorized it yet, so I'm going to read it off to you. 512-649-4143.
There you go.
James at shipshapecoach.com.
And I will absolutely make sure that is plastered on the screen as well.
Appreciate it
for viewers who have their closed captioning turned on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No, this is I love this, man. That's one thing that you were very instrumental in giving me some of the education or information on building a website. I saw your website and I was blown away. And I was actually going to pay somebody to do the website, but my wife ended up doing it for me because of the information that you were able to provide. So I appreciate that, man. I mean, like from the marketing aspect to the this is mine, right?
Yeah, you can have that.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was about to say, I put it down, don't touch it.
And there's some changes coming to that website too. One of the things that I'm really trying to push is a community engagement page.
Yeah.
And so I'm sponsoring small local businesses. You're going to be on there.
Yeah.
A couple of probably GoFundMe's from the area, that kind of thing. Really just kind of trying to build community, which is a cornerstone within my practice. So and it may sound odd me putting, Bobby's coaching on my coaching site, but it is not about the competition. No. It's about building connections.
Absolutely. And that's I get that often, when I do other episodes, I talk so much about resources and I talk so much about, teamwork and the value and power of connection. And I feel like oftentimes people feel like it is a competition, that they feel like there's not enough to go around. You know what I mean? And what I'm saying enough of is support.
Right.
Is love, is care. You know what I mean? I mean, there's enough people in this world that need help, that need support, that need all of those things. That yes, if and understanding that I'm not everybody's cup of tea.
Right.
But that comes from humility. That comes from stepping out of ego and saying, nope, I'm not going to refer. I mean, you either work with me or you got to find your own. Like that's not where you want to be, right? It's about the values that you align yourself with and say, I believe in helping other people,
right?
Whether it's me or whether it's James, and so that was well said, you know what I mean? And definitely something important I believe, for the audience to understand is that this is not a competition. This is, we have created a clinical and coaching group, and all we do is support each other. We refer to each other. We, this card, I think we have you, we're on the MHC website. I've got you on my website. you're on the podcast, and hopefully you're going to be a regular on the podcast.
I'll be back.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, I know you live in Egypt.
Yeah, Bobby,
which
is so
is a
far
drive,
from me. This is such a drive.
but it's worth it.
Yeah,
it's worth
it for the connection. But like I said, community is such a cornerstone in my practice, and I think had it not been for connections and support, certain connections and supports growing up, I would not be coaching today.
Yeah.
So I'm very thankful for the people that helped mentor me growing up, and I just really hope I can do that for someone else.
Amen. So all that connection and I mean it obviously that's why we do what we do, right? But I think we would be amiss if we didn't talk about the success part, and so how do you define success both professionally and financially?
I think financially is a little bit easier to answer.
Yeah.
I think that really I have so many different things I want to explore, try, grow. I want to take dance lessons, and I want to be able to spend time with my family. And I think that having a certain level of financial success that allows me to do that with a flexible schedule.
Right.
So I that is how I would define it. I don't need to be making the most money, but I want to be able to not worry about things and be able to spend some free time with my family or doing hobbies or whatever it is. As far as what success looks like, as far as coaching, I think that really depends on the client. Different clients struggle with different things, and working through it takes different amounts of time.
Right.
One of the clear ways that I can tell whether or not I've been successful is whether or not I've built that connection with that client. Because, first session, there's not a whole lot of rapport there.
No.
And so it's building that rapport because we're not successful unless we're connected.
Yeah.
So, taking that time to getting to know each other. That is the other, back to your earlier question about where does coaching fill in the gap?
Yeah.
You don't get to know your therapist really that well.
Right.
So,
which is just very clinical.
And there's a place for that.
Which is necessary.
100%.
You know what I mean? And, obviously we know that, my goal is to go back and get my marriage and family therapy.
Right.
Right. And so this isn't a knock on therapy at all. Like you said, like it's very needed, but coaching, it kind of works hand in hand.
Yeah. Right? It's just a little bit different.
Exactly.
And so building that rapport, that's where I also see success.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we already talked a little bit about, what inspired you, to start, this mental health and wellness business. Do you have any regrets?
That I didn't start coaching sooner.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I think that's probably it.
Why didn't you?
I didn't even know
you
about
didn't know,
it.
Right?
I didn't know about it.
Right.
That was that call with my dad. I met this coach. I was like, all right, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not playing football, so I don't know what to tell you about that.
Well, it's I didn't know much about it either. What I knew was that, I went back to school and got my addictions counseling degree, and I worked at a treatment facility, and I was an LCDCI, and I'm still an LCDCI, but as an I, you can't have your own private practice until you get that I off. And I don't like ceilings. I don't like barriers. I take them as challenges, but I'm so competitive that I'm like, you're not going to tell me what I can and can't do. My goal is I want my own private practice. Right. I need to figure out a way to have it. Well, I've been a personal trainer since I was 17, 18 years old. And it's actually something that I used to do full time, but it was so many ebbs and flows that I was like, okay, I need to go get a 9 to 5. But I put that in my pocket, and then with the skills and education that I got in school from the different modalities and really how to parlay your life experiences into motivation for other people. Like motivational interviewing was one of my favorite modalities of work to work with my clients on. And I was a youth coach, I was a big brother, and I was all those things. And all these experiences, and much like, what you said, like, you grew up and you went through these things and you were able to use them now with your clients, and so I decided to step out on faith, and start my own private practice, and I don't have any regrets either. I love what I do, and I can tell that you love what you do.
Absolutely.
Um, I think that's such a blessing because I don't think that everybody is happy with where they are in life, and so when we talk about the gap, or the need, I think it's for me, it's really helping and providing guidance.
Hmm.
We can help be someone's compass until they're able to create their own. You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
because at the end of the day, the my hope is that all of our clients and as many people in the world can find their center, find their peace, and find their purpose. You know what I mean? And so, um, that's just something that's really, been always been important to me, um, since I've started. So all right. So now that we're kind of wrapping up, is there anything that you feel is incomplete? Is there anything else that you feel?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah. You go.
Mm, sorry about that. Is there anything that you felt was incomplete, or anything more that you would like just people to know about you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think like anybody, there's a desire to be seen and heard,
Yeah.
and so one of the ways that I feel like I'm able to connect with a lot of people is through, a lot of empathy there.
Yeah.
I've had several different experiences that I might be able to connect with somebody on. I grew up in affordable housing. My parents split when I was very young, so I know what it's like to navigate two different households,
Uh,
two different sets of expectations.
mhm. Mhm.
Being biracial, trying to navigate the world that way as well, that
Yeah.
has its challenges. Um, so I take all of that into to my complex whole, and it allows me to hold space for somebody else's complex whole.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I really really try to be grounded in myself, and the goal is to help someone else become grounded in themselves.
Mm, yeah. That's We need more people like that. You know, I think I just recently did an episode. It hasn't been released yet. It's called "The Power of Vulnerability,"
Hmm.
and how your power really lies in in your soft moment, in your soft places, and things like that. And we don't need harder people in the world. We've got enough of them, right? We need healthier people. You know, and we can go off on so many different facets there, right? Whether it's political, whether it's religious, whether it's financial, whether it's relational or whatever, you know, a lot of those things, a lot of those things require a great deal of understanding and a
Hmm.
great deal of health, right? Not everybody is going to be exactly where you are, but it doesn't mean that you're behind. It doesn't mean that you're ahead of anybody. It just means that you're just on a different part of your journey than this other person is, right? And comparison is the thief of joy. And what happens when we start comparing ourselves to other people, that's what happens, right?
Right.
And we exist to help you get back in your life, to appreciate your journey, right? And to get them moving.
Hmm.
Whether it's training, whether it's role play, whether it's like I think you said, for me, it's pickleball on Sundays,
Yeah.
right? And which is a group that I run, pickleball group. Anyone that wants to come out, it is in Hutto, but we'll talk. But it's about the holistic approach for us. It's not just let's sit in the office and let it. We don't want it to be mundane. We want to get up and role play. We want to get up and work out and secrete endorphins and all those things because, obviously what it does, physiologically and psychologically for serotonin levels, and you sleep better. It raises confidence and self awareness and all those things. And so, that's That's definitely important. One of the things that are important to me is just promoting healthier people,
100%.
no matter what the age.
Right.
No matter what the age.
It's never too late for
No,
growth, for
no,
change.
man.
Constantly changing. Everybody's
Yes.
constantly changing.
And listen, I don't care if you were 20, 60, 80. We're just grown kids at the end of the day.
Right.
We're grown kids that all of a sudden learn how to drive.
Mm-hmm.
And then we learn responsibility. And
Or it's
then
thrust upon us.
or we're right, we were forced into, right? All these things, but I think, me and you were talking a little bit the last time about it's so important to still communicate with that inner child.
Yes.
Like it's still you. It's still you.
Ask Tammy. I'm goofy. I'm goofy.
Yeah,
I'm more of a kid now than I think I was back when she knew me as a kid. Because I've learned how to connect with that now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you finally identified that it's your superpower.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that because we talk about rapport and connectivity, and comedy is a
Yeah.
really good way to build rapport. You know what I mean? It promotes this level of comfort, this level of familiarity, um, especially again with the teens and young adults, right, where they have no idea what to expect. They're expecting, oh yes, tell me how you.
That's actually funny that you say that. I had a first meeting with a client
Yeah.
yesterday, and I asked him, "Is this what you thought it was?" No,
No.
not at all, not at all what I thought it was going to be. I was like, "Better or worse?" He was like, "Oh, way better."
Yes.
And then he goes, "I don't mean it, bad." And I was like, "No, I get it.
We get it.
This is why I do this."
Yes. Yes. Well, James, I want to tell you, man, that I really appreciate the work that you do. I respect you so much for for living in your purpose. For using your struggles, your life challenges, um, to to help other people. And I told you earlier, we need more people like you. Um, I know it's like cliche, but the more people like you that we're able to get in this world, will I think that's when the healing will start.
Mhm.
Again, I mean, there's so much going on in the world right now. There's so much going on with technology for our youth. They're often isolating more now. They're less connected. Um, Parents are having more issues than ever communicating with their children, and children are still trying to find their way, so they're rebelling against parents and trying to buck the school system. And I don't need this. Like, just 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 give this guy a call.
Yeah,
Just give this guy a call. James Ortiz, case manager, life coach. I really thank you for being on the show.
absolutely. And thank you guys for taking the time to watch this episode
Yeah.
and let me introduce myself
Yeah,
and my practice. I really appreciate it.
absolutely. Well, thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Reps and Reflections. Please share, like, comment, and subscribe. One of the things that I try to drive home is that someone needs to hear this, and you may not even know who they are. Oftentimes, people struggle in silence, people struggle in isolation, and they wear masks. So I just encourage you to not take for granted that everyone in your world, in your bubble, in your circle, are as okay as you think that they are. And something as simple as just hitting that share button, you know, and again, we may not be for you, but we do have resources, and we can connect you and find you your proper level of support, whether it's coaching, whether it's counseling, whether it's personal training, whether it's role playing, whether it's psychiatry, whatever. We've got resources for you. Thank you so much for your time, and as always, I love you all.
The blind man doesn't need eyes to see, but he finds his way. And I know you struggle, I struggle, we struggle, but fear doesn't have to live here. Because if you rise, and I mean really rise, the return on the investment that you put into yourself will be greater than any other on your journey. But it must be done through reps. It must be done with reflection.
Your reflection, reps. Your reflection, reps. Your reflection, reps.